Look, it's not unusual for an American reality show to have a season set in Canada, but it does feel like a strange time for Top Chef Destination Canada. That show just started. They probably weren't expecting to land in the middle of all this annexation talk. The group chat is here. They have thoughts. Let's cook. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. Okay, let's just get right into it. The 22nd season of Top Chef just started. They've had Top Chef California, Top Chef Texas, Top Chef Kentucky, but this is the first time that this show has come to Canada. The show has left the U.S. This time, 15 chefs are competing right here in Canada. Here's a taste.
Welcome to Top Chef Destination Canada. Yeah!
I really am so excited to welcome you all to my hometown of Toronto.
Yes. Love Toronto. I'm from Montreal. To be a Canadian chef competing, I have a lot of pride on the line. If I fail, I don't think I'll be able to go back home.
No pressure, hey. That's Massimo Piedimonte, the only Canadian chef competing on the American show. The season premiere just aired on Thursday. Niko Stratis is here. Ivy Knight is here. They've both seen it. They're here to dish about it. Do you guys get it? It's a pun. Do you dish about it?
I'm eating it up.
You're so quick.
Okay, I don't need this. You know, like, I don't need tepid encouragement. That is the last thing that I need in this world. Niko, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling about this season of Top Chef so far?
Good. Next question. No, it's good. It's like when you hear like Top Chef America is coming to Canada in this, let's say, these interesting times for the Canadian-American relationships. You never really know, but I was surprisingly like excited about it when as I was watching. I was like, oh, they're doing a better job than I thought they would. Because when you hear somebody else is doing Canada, you're like, oh, this is going to be really bad. This is going to be like the Disneyland version of Canada that people tend to often do. And this time, at least, it felt a little bit more rounded out and robust. So I was like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. I have a let's see where this goes feeling, which I wasn't expecting to have.
You know what I like about you, Niko, is that you generally have a let's see where this goes feeling, just about things. You know, you're a curious person. That's just your attitude towards life.
This is why I have a lot of visible scars.
Each with a story. Let's see how this goes.
Let's see how this goes.
Ivy, you were an extra. You were an extra on the season. You were at the premiere in Toronto last Thursday. Tell me about the vibe of the premiere of the show. What were people talking about?
The vibe was hyped up. Everyone was super excited. Olivia Chow kicked things off by very adamantly stating that we are not the 51st state. And she was in a strapless gown. She looked amazing. Yeah. And then Tom Colicchio made a point of saying that Toronto is the 4th largest city in North America and that he didn't vote for Trump. And Gail Simmons said it was impeccable timing for the show to come to Canada given the political conversation that's happening right now. Okay,
so it was kind of like just like the undercurrent of the Tom and Gail both are judges on the show, and Olivia Chow, of course, the mayor of Toronto. Like the idea that, you know, Top Chef Canada, Top Chef Destination Canada is launching, you get this opportunity to say, okay, we are clearly in conversation with the political moment. I have to say, because it is this interesting time to sort of look at how Canada is represented through American media and also having a big American show come to the country, how do you feel about the way that they represented Canada in the show, Ivy?
I was thrilled because, like Niko said, I didn't want to see the Disney version. Yeah. Poutine and maple syrup, like too heavily represented. You know, the humble lentil got a shining moment. You know, Dale McKay from Saskatchewan was there to sort of present the lentil. Poor guy. I was like, oh, the lentil, how lame. And then it ended up, you know, really shining and getting roasted and ground and turned into this cracker that looked fantastic that everybody was raving about. So that was cool.
You know what you don't hear very often is the words of the humble lentil, Niko.
The humble but mighty lentil.
The humble, but I mean, like, shout out lentils. Having said this, I do think that like, there's something about the way that you sort of think about the representation of Canada or what an American audience might expect to see when they see a show that is set in Canada. You know, 15 chefs enter the kitchen, they walk by a wall of maple syrup bottles outlined by a gigantic, large maple leaf. When you see that, Niko, do you kind of go, oh no, this will go in a bad way? Or do you kind of go, I trust Top Chef, they know what they're doing, this will go okay?
I mean, yeah, that extremely subtle motif of the maple leaf holding maple syrup. Like, they might as well had a Mountie there pointing and saying, see? See?
Yeah.
But I will say that they did then, like they made a point to be like, we are going to showcase these 5 regions of the country. They highlighted the North, which like when people talk about Canada, and even like this happens in Toronto all the time when people say the North, and they're talking about North Ontario because they never think of anything beyond that barrier.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I was a little bit thrown off when I saw the maple leaf holding the syrup, and I was like, oh, this is going to go badly. But I think they then immediately were like setting the table. I'm doing what you're doing.
I'm pun. I see it. I'm picking it up. Thank you. Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of being like, okay, we're going to do more. We're going to showcase the North. We've got a chef from Nunavut here. Like, we're going to do these things that show the country as a more robust version of itself. And this is the time to really do that, right? Like, because so often the outside perception of Canada is like, oh, the place that has Toronto, Montreal, and maybe Vancouver. But they forget that the prairies exist. They forget that there's Eastern Canada. They forget the North all entirely, like, so it's really nice to see that those areas not only got attention, but the most love in the show.
And I will say that like this is your opportunity to say, as someone from Whitehorse, which is like you have a legal responsibility, I believe, to say that every time you're on the radio.
Legally, I have to announce that I'm from the Yukon. Yeah, exactly.
Legally, I have to announce that I'm from PEI. Go PEI.
Thank you.
They don't have a team, so go PEI.
Well, but it is one of the 5 regions represented, right? Like, so they do as there's the East Coast, there's the North, there's the West. So like there's this kind of variation of saying, okay, we're pulling from elements of the cuisine from each one of the regions. Ivy, any chefs that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited about Massimo, who we heard in the opening clip.
Yeah.
He's a French Canadian like myself. He's a fan of my restaurant meme account.
Nice.
LA Celine.
Yeah. Incredible meme account.
Yeah, it's a perfect account.
And I'm excited about Kat Turner. She used to be the private chef for Billy Corgan. Mm-hmm. And I think she gave us
What a job.
Yeah. And I think she gave us some really dramatic moments in the show. And also Katiana Hong, who's the Korean-American chef from LA, who was adopted, raised by whites, and is like exploring her Korean culture with her husband at their restaurant, Yangban. And it's a Korean Americana restaurant. So I think the competitors are awesome this year. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, Niko, what about you? What are some moments that you're like, I'm still thinking about that from just like the first bit of the season we've seen so far?
The Apple Bowl incident where there was
walk me through this Apple Bowl incident, because I've seen people tweeting about it, but I don't understand it. What happened?
There's the hotshot chef. His name is Vinny, which is like a great name for a villain. If you're like, I need a villain name, you call that guy Vinny. Like
you do.
It's a great bully name. And he was, they're in a group of 3. And they're saying, let's just, we'll focus on the food and we'll just do a good job of cooking. And he's like, well, I want to serve the food in an apple that I've turned into a bowl with an apple top. And everybody
an apple that he's turned into a bowl.
Yeah, remember when Tim Hortons used to do it with bread? Well, now they're doing it with apples apparently on Top Chef. And it's this whole thing, and you don't really know how it's going to play off. And then it turns out, look, everybody loves the Apple Bowl, but you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. And I think you're being kind of a jerk about it, and the other chefs aren't kind of on board with the idea and like very clearly not a team player so much as like, look, I'm Vinny and I'm here for Vinny, and like, yeah, you're the villain of the show. Cool. Got it. You're Gaston.
You know what? Every reality show needs a villain edit, and I would like Vinny to get that.
I love that he revealed himself early on.
with an Apple Bowl, no less, out of all things.
I mean, he might not be. I don't know. I've never met the guy, but my immediate reading was like, oh, okay. You're the guy to root against. Cool.
It is worth saying though, like, this is not really a show that has a lot of villains. I mean, like, it's a show that has 20. This is the 22nd season. I feel like the reality show landscape has changed a lot because the idea that we've had Top Chef for such a long time, but also now you have like Culinary Class Wars. Like that's like a new Netflix show that they just recently launched. How do you think Top Chef, just as like it's in its traditional format, how do you think it holds up against the rest of the landscape here?
I mean, it feels like more traditional in a way. Like, I mean, do you agree? Like, it sort of feels like a reality show from like times past. Like it's like a flavor you return to. Yeah, because like you look everywhere else in the Food Network, it's like, okay, well, it's a thing that Guy Fieri hosts, or it's it's one of those things. But like this feels like a little bit more of like a classic flavor.
Right. What about you, Ivy? How do you feel like the way that the show has evolved? Has it evolved?
I agree that it feels like classic in the best way.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's evolved in that they care more about issues around food than they did when they first started out.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, initially, I remember there was a lot of talk around sustainable seafood, early days, and they were using the most unsustainable, horrible shrimp from Thailand or whatever. But the conversation around food and where it comes from and who makes it has changed quite a bit. But the thing that they do so well that they've never lost is that they manage to make it really, really, really tense and stressful. And you definitely felt that in the initial premiere episode with the plating. When it's time to plate for the judges, everybody's freaking out. You see the sweat coming down from the hairline and seeing Kat when she's plating her dish and her hands are shaking. Just took me right back to the kitchen, and I needed a defibrillator.
I have to say that, Niko, I've not thought about that idea, like the way that we talk about food has maybe changed a fair bit in the amount of time that Top Chef has been on air. When you think about conversations about food right now, like and some of that has to do with like the anxiety of just the cost of food, but also it just has to do with how sustainability has played a role in terms of how we think about food in general. Do you think Top Chef has kind of like pulled in those conversations, or are you like, that's not really what people go to Top Chef for, in a sense?
I mean, it kind of isn't what people go to Top Chef for, but also they haven't really, prime example in this, when they're highlighting the North, I sort of half expected that if they're going to talk about the North, they're going to talk about the food instability issues in the North, which is a widespread issue. When people think about, especially, Northwest Territories and Nunavut, they think about seeing photos on the internet of milk costing $25, which is a true thing, and it happens a lot. Even in Yukon, Whitehorse, where I'm from, sometimes food just doesn't get there.
That's a reality that grounds you in the North.
It is a very real reality in the North, but also there's really incredible food there. And I think you can have that food instability conversation, or you can highlight the food and the chefs and the culture of these places. And I think steering more in the direction of, look, we have this food, we make what we can, and we've made a culinary delights out of the place we live. I think that's the right call, because it makes those places seem more real, and like people live there and people love being there, and they have these things that they take pride in. And I think going in that direction is this right call.
Do you get the sense, Ivy, that our expectations of a show like Top Chef have changed? Especially like, A, stepping into Canada, B, stepping into Canada during this tense time between America and Canada, but also as the conversations about food change, like, should we start to look to shows like Top Chef to sort of introduce us to some of these issues, even if they're like not necessarily doing an episode that is about it, just part of the reality of that landscape?
I think that there are so many places to get information about the reality of our food systems and toxic restaurants, et cetera. But maybe you can look to Top Chef just to be a good example. Right. But mostly it's just for entertainment. Yeah. I mean,
that's the job of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they're doing a really great job at that.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys this before I let you go. What are you looking forward to for the rest of this season?
I am excited about the villains. I don't know if Massimo is maybe being cast as a villain. They had him doing some dramatic stuff in that first episode, and he was the only Canadian cast from Canada. 6 months of interviews. He had to go through a few psychological evaluations.
Oh, wow.
To be cast. But Tom did say at the premiere that more Canadian chefs will have an opportunity to get on to compete during the season.
Okay, I'm curious about that. Niko, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
I want to see those Canadian celebs. Get me that Michael Cera cameo. I'm waiting for it. Where's Jay Baruchel? Like, where's all my Canadian celebs?
Where's Burton Cummings? Yeah, 100%.
Where's Celine Dion?
Yes.
I don't think I see that coming for us, Ivy. What do you think?
Dare to dream.
Dare to dream, exactly. Please bring back my girls.
So I apologize for dampening your dreams. I didn't mean to. Dream no little dreams, as they often say. So I appreciate both of you being here. Thank you for your time. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Niko Stratis is a culture writer in Toronto. She writes the newsletter Anxiety Shark, and her book, The Dad Rock That Made Me a Woman, is out in May. Ivy Knight is a food writer based in Toronto. Her byline can be found in Food and Wine and The New Yorker. Okay, we're going to say goodbye to the folks who are streaming this on YouTube right now. But on the radio, we've got a little bit more to talk about, so stay tuned.